Hi, this is Deborah Clutter. I'm getting ready to long arm this quilt, and this is one from one of my YouTube videos where I showed you how to use the strip tube ruler and make some blocks. As I'm going to do an edge to edge in the middle. I'm going to do something, I think, circles in the small border, and then some kind of piano key. It shouldn't take that long. So let's get started. Okay, so this is what the quilt looks like that I'm getting ready to quilt. So I've already basted down the top and the sides of this quilt top, and I just need to start setting up my edge to edge. I'm trying to decide, should I do the top border first? And I think I might do a little stitch and then ditch just around those two borders. Well, I don't have my ruler plate on, so I am going to try to be very careful and do this stitch in the ditch without a ruler. And yes, you can, especially when you have your belts on. It gives it enough friction to kind of do that. I just have to put it in hand-guided mode. And then I'm just going to start. The only problem is I have my spin foot on, and or I don't know what Gammill calls it, glide foot. And it makes it hard to see. I wish they would make a foot that you could see through. All right, this is what I have decided to do on the top border. And I did a repeat pattern to create this, and then I did an order join and combine, and then I filled inside so it follows the border. So we'll go ahead and stitch it out and see what it looks like. All right, it's stitching out. Of course, you can't see it very well. It's the thread blends in, and it's kind of a busy border, but I think it's stitching out very nicely. And it'll look good when it's done. I'm getting ready to start my second border, which is the small red border, and then I'm going to do a border corner. So I have the corner selected and what I want to put on the long edge of the border. So I forgot, you have to draw the border after you click on border corner. You can tell I don't do this very often. And I don't really want to enter the length because I really just want it to be like that, and I'm not going to chunk the sides. I think I'm going to turn this quilt. Okay, so I'm just going to put 2 so it doesn't bring anything down on the sides. And then I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then I'll stitch this out. Well, I forgot to turn every other one, so now it's having to stop, but that's okay. I'm not really too concerned with it. I'll just let it finish stitching it out. Now I'm starting my edge to edge in the middle of the quilt, and I'm going to use this pattern called Seafoam. And I'm using repeat patterns. This is actually my boundary of my quilt. And then I'm just going to position everything, and I think that looks pretty good. Trying to get the first row without getting the second row. There we go. And fill inside. But I need to grab everything else and toggle it sewn, so it doesn't try to stitch in this one. And then we're just going to stitch this one. And then as we move down the quilt, as we keep rolling the quilt, we'll just create a new boundary inside and then fill inside and let it stitch for each row. I finished all the edge to edge in the middle of my quilt, and then I did this border, and then I did this border. And now I got to turn the quilt and do the sides, which I hate doing, but I think in this case it'll be easier. But I have to show you something that happened and I'm going to have to fix. Okay, this was very hard for me to find, but somehow I cut off this bubble and there's a straight line right through it. And so it's this bubble, and then there's another one. You can see this one a little bit better, right here. I have no clue. I must have got it outside my boundary, and I don't know. So it's not quite obvious on the front, but it is obvious on the back. So here's how I'm going to fix it. I brought in just a geometric circle, and I kind of drew a very bad boundary just so I could know where I need to put it. And here's the circle. And so I am going to take the other one out, and then I'm going to stitch this circle. Okay, so here's where I had that messed up circle, and here's where I have the new circle. And you'll never be able to tell that I screwed up. This pattern turned out really good, and so this is called Seafoam, and it was something that I bought. I saw somebody else stitch it out, and I thought, well, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to turn the quilt tomorrow because I don't have the energy to do it today. Okay, I'm getting ready to turn this quilt, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So all I really need to do is pull this off of the leaders, and it's pretty easy. So I had some people ask me if the staples go flying everywhere, and they don't. They're still in the fabric. No staples flying anywhere. I think it looks really good. I think I would have preferred if I would have used red thread on the back. So essentially you're going to want to turn this and load it just the way you normally load your quilt. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm going to load it the way I normally load it, which is not going to be the same way you normally load your quilt. I already have it stapled to the front leader, and so I'm just rolling it up, and I'm going to go ahead and staple it on the back leader. And see how easy that was? It's nice and straight. Looks pretty good. Now I just have to do these borders and we'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up. Okay, so how I'm going to finish this last border is I drew a boundary on my quilt, and I just want to find the pattern that I used, which was this one, and I am going to do a repeat patterns, and I'm going to set it up over here, and I need to change this to upper left corner, turn off the set total size, turn off this icon that locks it, and then we can start repeating our rows until we get enough that it fills in the space that I want. And so it's going to be a little bit more than I want. Then I'm going to click OK. And you can see it's not exactly the right size. I'm just going to take it over the border, and then I'm going to go fill inside. And it takes a second, and there's my design. So really the only thing you need to be aware of is when it comes back down here, that it's stitching in the ditch where you want it to be and not somewhere else. So you can do a little Hope it doesn't go exactly where you want. It's really not that hard. So I'm going to continue stitching this until it's done. All right, I finished all the piano key, and now I gotta do the rest of these circles. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a line from the middle of this circle all the way across to this circle. And then I'm gonna use the apply command to apply those circles on there. All right, so I used the head of my machine to draw a line, and here's my start point. And here's my end point, and you can tell it's not exactly level, but that's okay. And then we're gonna use this apply purl. That's what I named it. It's probably gonna be named something different in your software. And then I'm going to click on the line. So you have to have this selected first. Select whatever it is you wanna apply, and then you click apply pattern. And there's all my circles. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my line. All right, so here is the circles I already stitched out. And these are quite a bit smaller than these. I ended up having to delete about 10 of these. So just be aware when you're doing apply and you've already stitched maybe the other side, and you did it differently, because the other side I used a repeat pattern, and this time I did not. But I think I have them pretty close to the same size, and it's coming all the way to the end, and I think this will work. So I just need to get it centered appropriately, and I think I got it. So we'll try stitching this out. All right, I'm finished stitching out the circles, and it turned out fine. It turned out perfect. But I want to show you, these are the few circles that I turned every other one, and you can kind of see here's the top stitching where it had to top stitch over itself, and then here it is at the bottom and at the top. Here's the ones I didn't do, and you can see all the top stitching is at the top. So it does look better the other way. I think what I would do eventually is I would just create a pattern with one this way and one this way, and then use that to repeat down, and then you won't have to worry about turning every other one. And here's the end, and it matched up perfectly. And so this side is done, and I just need to roll it up and do the bottom. Here's the finished quilt, and I think it turned out really good. And there is that seafoam design. I think it looks really good on this quilt. Now you can't really see the piano keys very much, even in the natural light. Anyway, I think it turned out really pretty. The quilt looks really good. And I'll turn it over so you can see the back. Okay, so here's the back, and I think the back looks as pretty as the front, and everything has circles. So even with the gray thread on the back, I think it looks pretty good. And you can kind of get, there's lint on the quilt, so ignore that, but you can kind of see the piano keys and the circles I did. I think you could lay it on this side and it would still be as pretty as the front.